loves, I hope this video finds you happy and doing well. As you know by the thumbnail, this video is going to be on the new Maybelline Urban Cover Foundation. So if you're interested, then just keep watching. Alright, so this video is pretty much going to be a first impression on this little baby right here. And I was in the grocery store shopping with the hupster and I saw this foundation. I was like, oh, I want to review it. And I pretty much had seen it around the YT and I knew that I wanted to review it because I'm pretty much into foundations. I feel like I want to try and need to try, well maybe not need to, I want to try every foundation that's out there. In this video I'm not going to do a wear test. I typically do a lot of those on my Instagram, so if you're not following me, definitely go and check me out. Those are easier for me to do because at the end of the day, after I've worn the foundation, I'm exhausted, and actually setting up and actually filming and then taking down it's a lot of work, especially at the end of the day. But anyway, let's go ahead and start off with what the website says about this foundation. Alright, so it says that this is a perfect plus protect skin with SPF of 50, and I think that that is really good, especially if you're going to be out in the sun a lot. It also says that it's a new specialty foundation formula with SPF of 50 and antioxidants. SPF of 50 is actually a lot in my opinion. It says that it shields the skin from urban elements, cover imperfections, and it evens out skin tone. So it looks like there's a total of, it looks like 16 shades, and on the website it looks like it has a rating of 3.5 and it retails for $12.99, and it claims that it's supposed to leave you with a natural looking finish and that it protects the skin all day. It does say that it is lightweight and it does protect you from harmful environmental factors. So let's quickly look at the ingredients before I go ahead and apply this foundation. Now right off the bat, I'm going to tell you that I see something that concerns me, and that is this foundation has alcohol denate in it, and for the most part of it, anytime that you see that ingredient, companies use that ingredient in foundations and products to it as a viscosity controlling agent, and that just means that it's going to thin out or keeping whatever product it is from thickening. It also has antimicrobial effects, which means it's acting as a preservative as well. Now the reason that it concerns me is because you do have some people, not everybody, that it may dry out the skin, some it may even break you out. It just kind of depends on your sensitivity level and things like that. So if you ever do have a foundation and let's say it breaks you out or it irritates your skin or something like that, it could be due to that particular ingredient. Another ingredient that concerns me is fragrance, and you know, I never understand why foundations even have to put a fragrance. I don't understand why brands even have to put a fragrance in their foundation. I don't know, it could be to mask something else. I have no idea. But fragrance is just trash, you know. That's one of my pet peeves. That's a really big pet peeve of mine. Pet peeve of mine. But anyway, as far as the fragrance is concerned, it is very low on the list. It's down at the bottom. So you know, that means it's not that much of it, but still it's in there. As far as antioxidants, it does have niacinamide in it, and that's a good ingredient for the skin if you are going to help control pigmentation issues. I did see in this foundation that it does kind of help to even your skin tone out, so that's where the niacinamide comes into place. It also even boasts to help with acne and, you know, help with wrinkles. So anytime you see niacinamide, that's really good. Also, it has caffeine, and caffeine is a really good antioxidant to have in a product. And with caffeine, that's really good when you're looking for protection against UV radiation and just kind of preventing the aging effects that comes along with the UV radiation, you know, the sun and things like that. So what I can tell off the bat is just by reading the ingredients, if you're one that's really concerned about protection against the sun and getting enough SPF, because the ingredients that they have plus the level of SPF ingredients in it, it's really going to help you against environmental factors. So with that being said, I think that that's good. So before I get into applying this foundation, I have it in the shade 348. So let me just tell you a little bit about my skin type. My skin type is pretty much normal. After a long day, probably around the 5th or 6th hour, I will get a little oily right up in here, and that's it. Everything is pretty much going to stay consistent. Now, I did see a few reviews on the YT, and a lot of people felt as though, some people felt as though it was a dewy foundation, but most people felt as though it had a natural finish. Just in case it does lean more on the dewy side. I didn't use a primer. I really don't subscribe to primers. I don't use them just because I feel like historically I haven't needed them. You know, now that's not to say if you wear primers, because a lot of people need them if you're oily or if you're, you know, or it just depends on your situation. But me personally, I just use my regular skin prep and then I go in with my foundation. And let's just go ahead and look at this bottle again. So it's just a little regular tube like this, and it has a little squeezy tube, which I think that these are so fun. So I'm going to squeeze it out, and it seems to be, I guess, not so runny. I'm not sure. But that is the consistency that we're looking at right now. And I'm going to go ahead and just apply it in sections. One side I'm going to use a brush, and the other side I'm going to use a sponge. And I'm thinking that this shade may be a little bit too deep. Now I do have like a little spot right here. I'm going to try to cover that up. I'm going to let that sit for a second, and I'm going to go in with some more on my forehead. So right off, I can tell you that it is lightweight. This foundation does claim to be lightweight, and it feels lightweight. And after I applied the foundation right there, it did appear to cover up that dark spot that I had. Now I did hear some people say that this foundation oxidizes, so we shall see. So there you go. I have it all applied, and it does look like it is a little bit, it's definitely darker than my chest, I think. But I'm okay with that. All right, so I do have a little left. I'm gonna go in on this side. I'm gonna use a brush, and the brush that I'm gonna use is my all-time favorite. This is the Sephora 56 brush, and you can see that it is clean. And I was actually watching someone review this foundation. I forgot who it was. I saw so many reviews, and there was somebody who said that it seems like you get a better coverage with the sponge, and I can definitely see what they're talking about now, because the coverage with the brush is not so good. Can you all see? I do have some spots from some old acne scarring right there. Can you all see that? So I'm gonna apply some more. All right, now I feel as though you can still see those marks. At least I can see them. So I'm just going to try to spot conceal, and I'm just going to put a little dot over each one. And while I let that sit a little bit, I can tell you that it's not feeling sticky or pasty or weird or anything like that. And as far as that little part where I spot conceal, I'm just gonna go over it a little bit with my brush like that. And I think that is pretty much what it's looking like. It reminds me of the Tarte, what is it? The Tarte Babassu Concealer that I reviewed. I will leave a link up above just in case you missed that one. But that's the type of vibe that I'm getting so far with this foundation. As far as how it's drying down, how it's looking, I don't really smell anything. If there is a smell, it's very light, very, very, very faint. And it's a really comfortable foundation. Now I can go ahead and tell you now, if you are dry, I think that you would love this. Okay, I think that you would really love this foundation. If you're oily, I don't know how this would work. Now granted, I haven't set it yet with a powder and things like that, and typically because of my skin type, I am in the mature realm of the spectrum as far as skin type and things like that. So if I can get away with not setting a foundation, I will. But I think that I'm going to lightly set this, because after this I am going to keep it on throughout the day and do my wear test of how it holds up and post that on Instagram. But I can tell you it does feel light. You know, some foundations that claim to be full coverage, they are heavy and they're thicker and things like that. And I'm assuming that they're able to do that with the ingredients that they put in this foundation. So with that being said, I'm going to add the rest of my complexion and I'll be back. So I'm back with the rest of my face on, and I think that this foundation is really, really pretty. I really don't feel as though it has oxidized. You can tell me what you think. I think that this foundation is very lightweight. I can barely feel it, and the more and more I wear it, the more and more it reminds me of the Tarte Found Sealer, the Babusa foundation. I really like that one. I reviewed it. I'll leave a card up above, and just kind of the way it's sitting on the skin, the way that it feels, I really would recommend this foundation. Aside from the part of those 2 ingredients that I spoke about in the beginning of the video, if you anticipate that they may give you some problems, definitely pass. But the fact that it has a SPF of 50, the fact that it has niacinamide, it's got caffeine, you know, it's got a lot of antioxidants, and it's got a really high SPF rate, and I really don't feel as though it has any flashback. Now mind you, I really do feel that this is just a smidge too deep for me. Again, you can let me know what you think down in the comments, and historically that is kind of how I've kind of combated or attempted to combat flashback type of situations. If your foundation is a little bit deeper, when you take your pictures, it's pretty much going to match up with the rest of your body. But anyway, with that being said, let me know, do you plan on buying this foundation? I think it does come in at $12.99, which is, I think, is a awesome price. Let me know if you plan on picking it up, or have you picked it up, and if so, how did it work for you? Also, I meant to tell you before I kind of get on out of here, I did set this with the Black Radiance loose setting powder, and the shade that I have it in is in Honeymoon. And for the concealer, I did use the Stay Matte. This is the newer concealer. Sometimes I set this, sometimes I don't. Today I did lightly set it, and I just set it with my Lancome powder foundation, and that is pretty much it. I love the look. Let me know what you think down in the comments. I'd love to hear about it. Thank you so much for tuning in, and until my next video, smooches.